Hi there, I'm Jason Mefford, and I am here with Brad Miller. And today we're going to talk about something that probably all of you deal with from time to time. If you're walking a spiritual path, a lot of that is trying to make sure that we keep our energy and our frequency high, stay in kind of a good emotional and spiritual state. But you know what? Honestly, sometimes we just feel a little low. And so today we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about how when those times happen, what do you do? How do you get out of it? Do you need to get out of it even? And so let's get started. So Brad, what do you think about the topic?
hmm
Loaded question, my
It is
friend.
a loaded question. Yeah, just throw that softball right at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is something that I've been feeling probably the last week and a half or two, but really kind of recognizing what's going on, being more aware of it, the last day or so, and just kind of feeling low. Um, Not that I would say that I feel depressed or that I feel extra sad or anything like that, but there's just a sense that I'm just not as and I don't really know a really good way to explain this, and maybe that's a good thing for people listening if they can relate to it, but I just kind of feel like I have this kind of a low frequency right now, like lower than typically that what I would be. um I've not I've not felt like doing a whole lot of stuff. Again, not, sitting on the couch eating, potato chips or anything all day long, but just haven't really felt like doing a lot of work. Like the work that I have in front of me doesn't really seem that appealing to me to be doing. I have some things I should be writing that kind of the ideas are sort of kind of there, and I'd write a little bit, but when I look at it, I'm like, that doesn't really like it. It doesn't really, I don't know. Feeling a little lost is not the right word, but kind of like I'm just kind of wandering a little bit on things. Um, Particularly when it comes to my businesses right now. Um, Summer is traditionally a little bit slower. People take vacations and things, but it just kind of feels like things have kind of died out on me. And so I've kind of like, what do I do with this now? Is this something that I need to be worried about? Is this how do I avoid worrying about it? You know, um, what do I do with it? And so all of these fun things have been going through my head, while I'm still trying to focus on the now and on being present, which is something that I've been really kind of working on this last handful of weeks. So that's my story, and that's, I guess, why we're talking about this today.
Well, and it's I know people that are listening can relate, because again, you just shared, and I know, for those of you that have been listening to us for a while, I mean, we're just talking about what we're going through. We're just sharing
Mhm.
what we go through, right? And what Brad is experiencing, I experience too, right? And I'm sure people that are listening are experiencing it too. And I think it's important for us to talk about for a couple of reasons, right? One is, I think when times like this in our life happen, we usually think there's something wrong. And we feel like we're the only ones in the whole wide world who are dealing with something like this, right? Right? We all deal with it. For pretty much almost a year, I have been going through a lot of what Brad exactly has been describing. Times where I just didn't really feel motivated around things like my business, right? And I would see and again continue to see at different times certain parts of my business drying up for no no real reason that I can see. right? I mean, I'm doing the same things, but I'm not having the same results. And I think anytime that happens, our first reaction is, what am I doing wrong? I must be doing something wrong. There's something wrong with me. Or we jump into that needing to worry or feeling like we need to worry about something, right?
All the
And
fear. Yeah.
all the fear that can come about it. And what if there is nothing to worry about? What if there is nothing to do? It's just about the being, and everything ends up taking care of itself at the end of the day, right? What if this is just a phase that you happen to be going through? And again, maybe some of the stuff falls away because it's supposed to fall away, right? And sometimes spirit does that to us, right? It like taps us a little bit, like, nope, you're getting offline, you're
Course
getting out
correct a
of the
little bit. Yeah.
boundaries. Course correct, Jason, right? You're getting a little out. Or maybe I don't have the courage at the time to do what I know I'm feeling like I should do. And so sometimes the universe will just course correct you and be like, dude, come on, you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're not doing it, so we're going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And again, I mean, sometimes that's just the way it is. Right. I mean, there's an ebb and a flow in life. Things go out, things come back. Right. I mean, there's a cyclicality of life. And so yeah, I guess first and foremost, if you're feeling like this, you're not alone. Hey, Brad and I feel like this too. Ah, yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club, right? And I think too that we need to realize that there's not necessarily anything wrong with it, right? I mean, even just yesterday, I was sitting out on my back patio and it's like, I'm getting a little hungry and I don't really feel like doing a whole lot of stuff. I feel like eating Cheetos. And so I just sat and ate Cheetos on my back patio for a while, right?
Now the question is, were they the regular ones or were they the flaming hot?
No, they were the regular, but I prefer
Okay.
the crunchy instead of the puffs myself. So
No,
they were
I
the
concur.
regular
Yeah.
Cheetos,
With the
crunchy.
crunchy ones.
And I
Okay.
didn't eat the whole bag. Okay. I mean, it was one of the smaller bags and I portioned myself out. So I've eaten it in three different
Sittings. Yeah.
sittings. Right. So I didn't eat the whole bag. And I think too, I wasn't, because I mean, you kind of made reference to that, right? And there's kind of the joke about sitting on the couch and eating bonbons or chips or whatever, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and we laugh about it, and there's nothing wrong with it as far as doing the act. Where the issue comes in is what we're thinking about when we're doing it, right? So if I was sitting there eating the Cheetos going, Jason, you're such a piece of shit. I can't believe that you're so lazy and you're just sitting here eating this junk food and blah, 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 right? If I was beating myself up while I'm doing that, then whoa, 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 right? Then, I'm not just consuming junk food, but I'm consuming junk thoughts as well. And we've talked about this before, right? But I wasn't. I was just sitting there enjoying listening to the birds, looking at the plants and the trees, and how good Cheetos taste, and and I know they're not the best for you, but we talked about gratitude before too. And
Mm-hmm.
actually yesterday I was like, man, you know what? I'm really grateful for the person who invented Cheetos because damn it, they're good. It tastes good, right? So that was kind of one of the experiences that I had, even just yesterday. Um, and I know, and I think too, especially as professionals, right? And we're both professionals, if you will, right? We've been taught usually, because I've seen some of your posts too on social media about like uh work for pay, you know, charging hourly rates versus not charging hourly rates, right? And so much of the time we're really taught that we have to be productive, we have to be working a certain number of hours, we need to have a certain number of billable hours every week, and if we don't do that, right, then there's something wrong with us, or we're being lazy or whatever else, right? And I remember I've had several dreams where I've woken up and the voice inside my head is saying, when are you going to learn that the money you make has nothing to do with the hours you work? And like I said, I've had this happen several different dreams I have woken up about, and I'm doing better at understanding and realizing that the amount of effort or time that I put in does not necessarily correlate with the money that I make, right? Because there's some days literally when, I mean, I remember this was probably about 2 months ago. I pretty much took a week off and did hardly anything. I made more money in 2 days by doing nothing than I normally do in a regular week, right? And so again, it had nothing to do necessarily with the hours that I was putting in. Now, I it was because I had courses and something that people could sign up for, right? So I had done the work beforehand. I had done some marketing beforehand, but I didn't need to be doing anything for random people throughout the world to sign up for my course and pay me money, right? And so there's this difference, because what we're not saying like, hey, you can just be a lazy loaf and not do anything and money's just going to flow to you, which is, I think, one of the problems that a lot of the people talking about manifestation have, is they think you can just sit on your couch and go and millions of dollars and a Ferrari flows in. But the work that we've done before pays back in different ways than we might have expected. And it follows the laws of nature, right? Just as if we were a farmer, you work really hard to get the field ready, to plant the seeds, to water it, to fertilize it, and then you kind of sit and wait. And the fruits of those labors come in later, right? But imagine if a farmer was out there and like, damn it, I planted these seeds yesterday. How come I don't have a crop today? Right? It just doesn't work that way, because that's not how the universal laws actually work.
Yeah. And that's a really good point that I know a lot of, being a lawyer, I see a lot of lawyers, but I'm sure a lot of professionals just in general kind of get into that trap of, you have to do something in order to get paid, to make money, to be successful or whatnot. And yes, there has to be work, there has to be action. So you have to do something. You can't just, like you said, sit there and on your couch all day and expect things to be thrown at you. But it's not a one-to-one kind of a thing. It's not that I have to do this and I get this. If I do this, I get this. You know, you start taking those little steps, and maybe, maybe that's another episode here talking more about kind of manifestation and how it works and things. But for professionals, I know this is something that we are kind of trained into. Again, with lawyers, we're trained in this billable hour sort of a system where, you get paid for every, 0.6 of a, that you did, every 10th of an hour that you work. That's how you get paid. And so you start to equate effort and work and action with getting money. Like if you don't work, put the time in, you don't get paid. So if you're sitting there not doing something that's, billable, then you're like, well, I'm not getting paid, so this is a waste of my time. And so that's, I mean, definitely something that I know permeates lawyers thinking, and I'm sure other professionals have,
Mhm.
similar that do that kind of have this billable hour um, system in there. But um, and thankfully I've not done billable hour for like, over a decade now, but I still can see even just the times where I sit at my desk, or sometimes I go out and I spend time with my daughter, I still kind of feel that urge to do something. Like if I'm not doing something associated with my business, then it's not going to be bringing in money. If I get up in the morning and I don't switch on my computer and start working in some capacity, even if it's just staring at the screen, if I'm out, going on a hike, something or whatever, I feel like it's not necessarily being productive. It's not, equating towards, something. And so that's something I've been working on, and um, over the years to try to get out of my system. Although, again, do you ever really get past all that stuff? But just trying to separate that. That it's okay to be able to go out and do it for a hike, or spend time with my daughter, or not turn the computer on. And that doesn't mean that I'm being a worthless, piece of crap. It could be that that's what I need to do right now. That maybe I just need to be letting things happen. That maybe the things that I put in place or are just need time to percolate. The seed that I planted needs time to grow. So
Well, and as you're talking there too, I think this is another thing that I am learning, still learning, is I think a lot of times we believe that what we do has to correlate with making money.
mhm, yep.
And so we talked about, one of the universal kind of cosmic laws is about that ebb and flow, right? What you put out comes back, reciprocity kind of a thing, right? Another one is cause and effect, right? That in order to have some sort of an effect, you have to do something. There, for every action, there is a reaction, right? And so that's where we're talking about. You can't just sit on the couch and just think about it, right? You have to be usually doing something. But I think what's interesting, especially for people that are walking a spiritual path, what you start to realize is the universe compensates you sometimes in money for things you do to better the universe that have nothing to do with money. Okay. And so what I mean by that is that experience, and actually it wasn't a couple of months ago. It's like, because I lose track of time, because
Time's an illusion. It doesn't matter.
time is an illusion. Time doesn't really exist the way that we think it does. And so what seemed like months ago was actually about 2 weeks ago. Okay. Just to be clear. But anyway, there's a little joke I have with some friends about, that day, how many years was that we just lived through, right? But I was doing some things that were not business related. I was taking some time off to do some things to help myself and to help the world and the universe in general. Okay. I was taking time and serving in a way that I can't really explain to you right now. But by me doing that, by me being present in the moment and spending my time doing that, I was helping the planet. I was helping people. I was helping the universe. Right. And I got back like non-tangible stuff from this as well. Right. Because again, cause and effect, but the universe also compensated me monetarily in an indirect way for my service. Right. And so I think that's why Like when you're talking about, taking time to go spend with your daughter. Maybe it's taking time to go spend time with an elderly person or somebody who maybe is sick or needs company. I'm just making up stuff, right? But I think a lot of times in our busy world, we think that those kinds of things have little value because we don't see how we make money doing it.
Yeah. What's the ROI of that?
What's
Exactly.
the ROI of that? But I will tell you, because I have learned from personal experience over and over and over and over and over again, when you do those things, you will be compensated intangibly as well as monetarily, right? I mean, Brad was talking about how he's been feeling for the last week or so. I've been feeling like this for the whole year, okay? Off and on. And it's because there's some different things going on in my life and some evolution stuff, a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't share with you right now. But it's amazing to me how little I have actually worked this last year. But everything that I have needed monetarily has been there for me. I have never been without money. I've always had more than I need to for everything that I needed to do, even though I'm working less, even though I see parts of my business drying up, even though I see, revenues in some lines of my businesses going down, I still am taken care of. I always have more than enough, right? And so, for those of you listening, right, and again, especially because, like I said, we realize a lot of people are probably like Brad and me, right? We've grown up in the corporate world or doing some kinds of things like this, and a lot of times we tie our identity and our importance to how much money we make. But that's really, we got to disconnect that because it has nothing to do with how much value you're actually providing in this world. And a lot of times, the little things that we're talking about actually can have a bigger impact than a lot of the doing things. And so I'll give you an example. I was talking to a couple of friends last night, and one of them, there was a person in her life that is no longer in her life, right? Sometimes people kind of get cut out of our lives, right? And so this person that got cut out, her dog had just died. And so my friend was like, I feel like I need to text her or do something, like, oh, I'm so sorry your dog died. But as we talked about it, it's like that doing act probably wouldn't do a whole lot. In fact, it might have, unintended consequences. But instead, my friend just kind of sending love and light to that other person in a non-doing way, not sending a text, not sending a, you know, grieving card, or I don't know, whatever bereavement, isn't that what you
There you
call them?
go.
Bereavement
Mhm.
cards, whatever. But focusing on the person and sending that person love and light through the ethers was actually more beneficial to that person and to my friend than a doing act. And so spending time with your daughter, helping to cheer somebody up who's feeling low, right? Laughing, doing some things like that to help raise your frequency, raise other people's frequencies. Love can have a huge much bigger impact than we give it credit for.
Yeah, you can't measure some of those things. Like I can't measure the impact of spending time with my daughter. Like you can't put a dollar amount on that. You can't, it's so far reaching that there's no way to even know or conceive of what that's going to be like, going forward in the future. Just the hour we spend, what does that going to do, or the giving the good feelings as opposed to sending a card. Like what's, we can't know. But I think, and that's maybe part of it, is that we can't assign a tangible value to it, and that makes it tough, I think, for people to wrap their heads around, because we're looking at this from like a 3D kind of a standpoint. Like, well, what's, if I'm at $1 an hour with my daughter, well, if I was do an hourly rate, that's, an hour times with my bill hourly rate, right? So, is that time worth $400 or $300 or, whatever? But that's not how you measure something like this. This goes beyond on that. And I think that's one of the problems that, again, professionals run into, is that we like to have this tangible, I do this, I get this. We like to see the cause, and we like to see the direct effect, the return on the investment of the time we commit. And if we can't do that on things like this. And so if we can't see this benefit, then it must not be there. It must not be worth it if we can't see it. But that's not the case. And that's again this kind of 3D kind of materialistic view of value. But in the case of that friend, the dog, that value goes much beyond, the cost of sending a card, or the time spent, clicking out a quick, 2-minute email, or the time that I spent out with my daughter in the woods.
Yeah, because I think that's an important takeaway for people, is to start realizing that you can't convert everything you do or every hour that you spend and think about it monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's most of the stuff, there's no way to economically value it. But I can tell you, the hours that you spend in quiet meditation, in helping uplift other people, in sending good thoughts and love and feeling gratitude, are way more valuable to this world than even if you're making $1 million an hour, right? Because it literally changes people's lives. It changes the world, right? And I have been amazed to watch, without going into details, a small group of people who place their awareness consciously in the universe for something to happen, and then watch it actually happen, is amazing, right? And there are little things that are going on that you would not even think about. But imagine, let's say, we'll just make up something, okay? There's certain places in the world where people are fighting and killing each other and hating each other. How much value would there be for groups of people to place their awareness and focus on helping to send love and light to those leaders who are fighting with each other so they can see clearly and get past their ego and stop fighting and hurting and killing other people. How much value would there be in the world for that? How much value in the world is there to send love and peace to the people who are affected by things like that going on in the world? Right? You can't put a monetary value. Well, you could. I mean, people put monetary values on wars all the time. But imagine what it means to those people who are suffering, right? To have people place that attention and awareness on it, and then to watch the fighting stop. Because it happens. Those kind of things happen all the time, but nobody knows about it. Nobody recognizes it, right? But those things do happen. And so, again, as we're walking a spiritual path, the more that we can do that with people around us, even with complete strangers, right? Smiling and joking with the cashier at the grocery store. Can't put a monetary value on that. But it had an impact on that cashier, didn't it?
Now, if they give you a discount, I mean, you could in theory
Hey,
put a value on it.
you never know, right? You never know.
Yeah, they knock $5 off or something,
But it's anyway, we get sidetracked on all this stuff as we get going along. But it's what's interesting, because we started off kind of talking about feeling low. And already, I mean, here we've been talking for, I don't know, half an hour or whatever we're at now, right? But we've been laughing. We've been having a good time. We've been present with each other because we're here talking with each other, right? And so, do you feel better right now, Brad, than you did before? Yeah. You do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, just joking, laughing, being present, and again, we'll stop recording, I'll go back to my day, you'll go back to your day. You might kind of have some of those feelings again, right? And again, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's just a lesson that you're learning or working through right now around patience or whatever other lesson you might be learning at this time, right? But there's also an opportunity for you to, when you realize that, to just laugh a little, feel grateful for the guy who created Cheetos, right? Think about somebody that you love that you haven't seen for a while, and just express and shoot out your gratitude and love to that person, even if you're not sending him a text. Or, hey, sometimes I feel like, you know what, I need to text Brad today. Hey, Brad, was thinking about you. How you doing, man? Sometimes I get that feeling. Sometimes it's just me thinking about Brad. And I'm just using Brad because he's here and I do think about him too.
I'm still waiting for that text message though. So just
let me grab my phone just a minute, right?
There you go.
But yeah, so again, I know we've kind of rambled a little bit and we talked about some things that we didn't necessarily intend to when we started recording, but hey, that's how this goes, right?
You never know what you're going to get, where it's going to end up.
Yeah. But I think it's you're not alone if you're feeling this way, because Brad and I both feel this way. There's some different ways to kind of get out of it. But at the same point, maybe it is just a phase that you're going through and there's nothing wrong with it. Can you go through a phase like this without beating yourself up? Maybe that's the lesson. I don't know. Right? Everybody's different. I know that's been one of my lessons as I've gone through some of these things.
Yeah, I got nothing else. So
That's it. That's a wrap, folks.
We're
That's a
done.
wrap. That's a wrap.
yeah.
All right. All right.
So hopefully listening, you found some value out of this. Hopefully we didn't take too big of a left-hand turn. I know we started talking about one thing and, you know, followed where it led. And maybe
Well,
that's not where we expected, but you know,
because
maybe it needs to.
at least one person who is listening to this needed to hear something that we said when we made the left-hand turn.
Yep.
Right. And so, you know, again, it's what it is. Everything always is, always has been, always will be okay. So anyway.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for laughing with us and hanging through our left and right hand turns.
And we'll see you on the next episode. So go out and have a great rest of your day. And obviously do what you can to keep your frequency up. But, you know, if it's one of those times when you're not, then, you know, take some of the things that we talked about here today and apply them into your life, and you will feel better. You'll move through, because whatever comes your way, you are strong enough to get through whatever it is that you're getting through, and whatever it is that you're going through is for your evolvement and for your benefit. Like we talked about before, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So keep that in mind too.
See you guys. Get you next episode.
See ya.